Texas Congressman Brian Babin says the Democrats stopped the GOP's effort to block amnesty for illegal immigrants committing massive crimes in our country. Here's a little bit about what Babin had to say on the floor.
In case you missed it, House Democrats actually rejected the Republican efforts to block amnesty for illegal aliens who are gang members or have gun charges or sex offenders, as Mr. Tiffany just said, or who have multiple DUI offenses. It's lunacy. All you can say is it's lunacy.
It is lunacy, and let's welcome the Congressman back to the program. Brian, you and I have chatted on this program and offline as well about how disgusting what's happening at our border. And you and I both have a heart. This is a humanitarian crisis, from the women and children that are being sex and human trafficked, to the rape along the journey, to the drugs that are coming in that's killing tens of thousands of Americans on a scale we've never seen. And then you add on top, they're coming in with COVID, and our Border Patrol and ICE agents are overrun, all in 10 months. If anyone tries to stand up for this administration and say this is not Joe Biden's fault, they've got their head buried in the damn sand.
Dan, as always, thank you. You know, it's news people like you that help get this out to the American people. Otherwise, they wouldn't be getting it. It's just unbelievable that we were told that walls were immoral. They're actually in the process of tearing down some of the wall. I just talked to a friend of mine who has a district in Southern California, and one of the last of the few Republicans over there, and they are absolutely after the wall in San Diego, which we know has been so effective at cutting 90% of illegal crossings. So we have all this construction materials piled up down there. Walls work. We know they do. If they didn't, they wouldn't be putting a wall around Biden's beach house or have one around Pelosi's mansion. But yet we've got 192,000 illegal aliens caught and apprehended by CBP just in September alone. 233% increase. Unbelievable. More have crossed in the last 3 months than in all of fiscal year 20. And in total, in the last fiscal year, from October to this month, 1.7 million illegals have crossed. You can't make this stuff up.
No.
President Biden, he takes care of illegal aliens and really sets up the cartels for success and ignores American citizens and the people that live down there.
You know, Congressman, I always try to say on this program, because the left loves to paint us this way, that I never spread, nor do I even like ever even using the phrase conspiracy theory. And I've asked, what's the end game here? Because I'm trying not to think the worst of other men in this society, folks running this government. But when I look at the end game, I go, you've allowed 1.7. By the end of this year, they're estimating 2.1, 2.2. That we know of, Brian, that we know of. So let's call it what it is, probably 2.5 or 3 million in. 20, 30% we know for a fact have COVID. All the things you and I just mentioned, that illegal activity that's tied to it. And I'm going, the end game must be Democrat voters. And also then control by allowing COVID to still flow in so they can pump money by doing another booster, another booster, another booster for 1, 2, 3 years out. I don't know how long this is going to go on. So Big Pharma gets rich, Democrats get more voters, and they can continue their control with their mandates while they're scaring the hell out of the American people about COVID, because the numbers have been going down. But if you're letting people in, I don't know if we have the headline, where a source has just told, I think it was Breitbart, that they know of at least 16,000 that were processed and then released that had COVID. And that's just one processing center, Congressman. One.
Well, here we are still wearing masks on the floor. And as you said, you know, very articulately, we're having to take boosters every 6 months. You know, the Biden administration just came out with new directions for letting people who are travelers come into the United States, all kinds of restrictions as well, not only on these illegal foreigners coming in, but on American citizens, while 25% of these illegals that have been turned loose in our country have been COVID positive, not even testing them in many cases. So no matter how many boosters we take, no matter how much we work trying to prevent the spread of COVID, how can we stop it with these hypocritical Democrats allowing COVID positive illegals come in by the thousands to continue on in? It is just so hypocritical. You can't make this stuff up.
I know. You cannot write a Hollywood script that looks like what's happened to our country in 10 months and what's happening at that border. Finally, I got to say, this has to be a lot about money. Let's be real. They're coming in, they will get the votes down the road, but as they instill the fear of the COVID pandemic, while they're bringing it in, and you just talked about the boosters now, who's getting rich and who's one of the biggest contributors to political campaigns? And that would be Big Pharma. And I was told by President Trump during that interview we did with him, I believe it was on August 30th, so a couple of months back, he said, Dan, watch Pfizer. Watch Pfizer and their connections to this administration. And Pfizer is the one that's being pushed on the military, on all the different departments in this government, with the boosters and everything. It's at the forefront. They are making billions upon billions, aren't they?
Well, you can't argue with anything you said. And quite unusually, or, you know, it certainly makes your ears prick up, but Pfizer kind of withheld a little bit of information just as the drug was coming out, as their vaccine was coming out around the election. They did not make their announcement that they even would have a vaccine until after the election. If you might not recall that, but that's something that happened. So we kind of can guess, intelligently guess, some of their political persuasion at some of these big pharma companies like that. So, you know, all I can say is, Dan, with everything that you mentioned, the number of Americans who are dying of overdoses, the enabling of the cartels by this administration to let them bring these types of drugs in is just over the top. All you can say is this Biden administration certainly does not care about Americans. And I want to say that I'm very proud of the state of Texas, who I think is stepping up to the plate. There's several places in our Constitution, Article 4, Section 4, which I think gives governors of states the right to protect themselves during an invasion.
Yes, I see that you guys are gearing up.
Absolutely. 1.7 million in the last 12 months. If you don't think that's an invasion, you need to go get your head checked. That's exactly right.